Have you ever opened up a financial report and your eyes just glaze over? It looks like a wall of numbers, right? It can feel super intimidating. But what if I told you that inside all that jargon, there's actually a story just waiting to be told? Well, today we're going to crack one open. We're using the latest quarterly report from American Tower to show you exactly how to find the narrative hidden inside the numbers.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basics. What even is a 10Q? Then we'll get to know the company we're looking at, American Tower. After that, we'll take a financial snapshot, check out their quarterly report card, and finally, we'll put all the pieces together to see the story they're telling. So, first things first, what is a 10Q? Try not to think of it as some stuffy government form. Honestly, it's way more interesting. Think of it like a company's public report card. They have to release one every 3 months to tell the world, and that includes you and me, how they're doing. Okay, so here's the official definition. It's a report filed with the SEC, and it gives a big summary of a company's performance. The key word here is unaudited, which just means it's not as rigorously checked as the big annual report. But it's still a super important regular check-in on the health of the business.
But that's all the technical stuff. The real question, the one we're here for, is what's really inside. What story can these numbers tell us if we look past all the legal language? You know what? Let's think of ourselves as detectives for the next few minutes. We're on a mission to uncover the clues that tell the real story of how American Tower is actually doing. So, who's the subject of our investigation? American Tower. Now, you might not know them by name, but I guarantee you use their services every single day. These are the folks who own the cell towers, the data centers, all the physical stuff that makes our digital lives possible. They are, quite literally, the invisible backbone of our world. Now check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. The company's called American Tower, right? But just look at this revenue breakdown. Yeah, the US and Canada are their biggest market, but wow, they have huge operations all over Latin America, Africa, Asia, and Europe. This isn't just an American company, it's a global infrastructure powerhouse, and they're spreading their bets all over the world. Okay, next up, let's take a peek at their financial health at one specific moment in time. And for that, we're going to turn to something called the balance sheet. It's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a snapshot of what a company owns versus what it owes. The concept is actually really simple. On one side, you have assets. That's all the stuff they own. And on the other side, you've got liabilities. That's everything they owe. It's just like your own finances, right? You've got money and stuff you own, and then you've got your debts. We're just looking at how it all balances out. So let's start with what they own. And whoa, this number really shows you the massive scale we're talking about. As of the end of September 2025, American Tower had total assets worth almost $64 billion. That is a huge number that covers everything from the steel towers in the ground to the humming data centers. Now, for the other side of that equation, what they owe. Their total liabilities are sitting at over $53 billion. A massive piece of that is long-term debt, which honestly makes total sense. You don't build a global infrastructure empire without borrowing a whole lot of money to make it happen. This isn't scary debt, it's strategic debt that's fueling their growth. All right, so if the balance sheet was a photo, a snapshot in time, the income statement is like the highlight reel from the last 3 months. This is the company's performance review. It shows us how much money came in the door and, crucially, how much was left over as profit. The very first thing we want to look at is revenue. That's the total cash coming in. And you can see a really clear positive story here. In the third quarter of 2025, they brought in $2.72 billion. That's up from $2.52 billion in the same quarter last year. The takeaway? Simple. The business is growing. More money is coming in.
Okay, but revenue is only half the story. What about profit? Now this is where a detective story gets a major plot twist. Just look at these numbers. Last year, in this same quarter, they posted a loss of over $780 million. This year, a profit of over $912 million. That is an absolutely massive swing of nearly $1.7 billion. So what on earth happened? And the clue is right here, hiding in plain sight in the report. If you dig into last year's numbers, you find this one specific line item. A huge $1.2 billion loss from something called discontinued operations. That was a one-time thing. So this year's giant profit isn't just some crazy recovery, it's a return to what they do best, now that that one-time hit is in the rearview mirror. So let's put all of these clues together. We've looked at their global footprint,
their assets and debts, their growing revenue, and that wild profit swing. What's the final story that this 10Q has revealed to us? So what's the bottom line here? In just a few minutes, we've pieced together a pretty clear story. This is a healthy, growing, global company. That huge loss last year was just a blip, and their core business is really profitable. And they're being smart about their money. The report shows they've been actively paying down some big loans this year, which is a great sign that they're managing their finances well. Of course, we're just scratching the surface here, and the 10Q itself basically tells you that. It's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. To get the full story, you'd really want to dive into their big annual report, the 10K, which has even more detail. But here's the cool part. You have the basic tools now. You know how to look for the story behind the numbers, the growth, the weird one-time events, the bigger picture. Every single public company out there has a report just like this, with its own unique story waiting inside. So the only real question is, what story are you going to discover next?